for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday night. We are here. Just wanted to wish everybody stay warm. We were in Lewis and I's neighborhood around here. We were minus 40 this morning. Minus 20 actual temperature, minus 40 on my walk to work, which is only about a block away, and it was a little rough. Hope everybody's got power. We didn't lose any power. How'd you do, Lewis? We didn't lose any out there, right?
Yeah, we're all good here. Yep.
Oh, good. So introduce. I'm going to start with Lewis. How we doing, Lewis?
Doing all right.
We add you to the theme next week. I actually did it already, but I didn't download it into here. We already know who your characters. I already know who your character is going to be. It'll be fun. It'll fit your personality to a T. Yeah, it'll be fun. All right, Knights, how we doing?
Pretty good. Got lots of we had a bunch of snow here, but it's all good now. It's pretty much all slush, but we don't get that very often up here in Seattle, so it was pretty fun. Watching people try to drive is pretty funny.
Yep, we have. I know our friends down in Texas are freezing all the way over to Tennessee area. How we doing, DS?
I'm great. Yeah, I'm enjoying the, I don't know, it's sort of like a guilty pleasure to watch the people down south freaking out. I feel bad for them on the one hand, but then, I grew up in Northeast PA with the coming off the Great Lakes, and it's just winters are brutal. And I'm in Northern Virginia now, and it's still pretty cold, and there's some snow every winter. But for me, this is like a vacation from the harsh winters of my early childhood. And then I see Texas is like without power, windmills are frozen, nobody owns a shovel or a winter coat, and it's just crazy, man. I mean, it's just I wish them all the best, and I hope they pull through soon. But it's crazy to watch different areas of the country and how it's just people look at stuff so differently.
Northern Mexico got got snow, so El Paso, a lot of snow in El Paso. My friend El Paso sent a message out. So everybody stay warm. We're going to keep you here. We're going to have a good time with the show. We're going to do some show and tell off the bat. I'm going to show mine first because I forgot a beer, and I definitely want to have a beer. I'm going to show just a piece of art I got. After I did the show last week on Bill Cox's show, I had a great time. I got a piece that's obviously JD Star Wars related. This is a splash page, not produced. The comic was never done, completed. And they're going to be bringing this back. Maybe this will make it into a published piece. This is the original Boba Fett when it was the introduction to him into one of the Bounty Hunters books. Cool. They went with a different splash page. You probably recognize that with the other character over here. This was originally submitted, but they changed it. But here it is. It's a Boba Fett. This was a gift or a really low price from a friend who watched the show, liked the shout out I gave him. And I never noticed, but Boba on his EE3 got a little sniper rifle on that, a little scope, which I didn't notice. That's pretty cool. But the EE3 is the name of his blaster for those of pedestrian folk. Okay, who wants to go next? Lewis, I know you got, 4 or 5 to show?
I picked up 4 over the last week or so.
Oh, look at that. Slave 1.
Yeah, yep. So I picked up a kind of a little bit of an eclectic mix of books.
I'm gonna put you on the big screen. There you go. Oh, hang on. That was nuts.
I got the main screen up. All right. So some of them have kind of stuck on the wall over here. I've been trying to get get the wall kind of set up. So one of them here, I kind of kept it out so it was handy. So Pep Comics 13.
Oh yeah, nice.
So, some of these books I always look at and I just stare at, and I'm like, what exactly is going on? But still, cool nonetheless, And then I think, as you guys probably were aware from that recent Heritage auction, I picked up a couple books. Did I overspend? Who knows? I guess. But one is Science Comics #1. So again, I kind of like to work overtime to
show it again. Show it again.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's got a little bit of glare there. I kind of killed a light in the room here, so
I think that's like for Golden Age sci-fi, that's top 3, depending on your preferences. But yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, I would certainly.
Congratulations on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks. What's
name
funny?
of the beer, by the way, is Cold Snap White Ale from Sam Adams. So
you must have had some competition on that.
Yeah, there was a few bids. I was kind of surprised. I threw in. Heritage always has the proxy bidding at the end, which always kind of, you're the number, whatever. And so at the end, I was kind of surprised, to be honest with you. I always find it's interesting on these books. Not that it's relevant, but like if you ever look at them, they all like just the way they're cut. They all almost look like they're miscut at the top, like on the Science Comics one. Like oftentimes, it's just like how they're all cut.
Yeah, I like also how it has that electric sort of squiggle in the title too. Is that one?
In the titles. Yeah.
What was your strategy to win? Did you just do a really massive, like, final offer kind of thing, or were you waiting around to see if you had to?
Yeah, I've learned on those. Like, I put an initial bid in just to kind of watch it. And then that one, I kind of, you ever have some books where you're like, okay, I'm going to throw a bid and I might watch it. I might not. It has my interest, but like, like it's kind of like a dog chasing a car. It's like another car will come along and I'm like, I'm not interested anymore. Well, in that particular book, like I was kind of focused in, so I went ahead and put a decent bid. So, and then when it came into the proxy stuff, I just put a high enough number where like daring somebody like beat it, so. And then I picked up like a Fantastic Comics #2 as well on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Bring that one.
Yeah.
You got a show and tell here.
Yeah, I've got a few. I mean, it's this one here.
Nice.
So I always figure it's just one less than the 3, right? So close to the 3, #2.
Hey, Knights, I'm going to send you a link of something that just showed up on the board.
Yeah, and the yellow. Show that one again, Lewis. So the yellows on that. I mean, the colors are so bright on that. Yeah, it's a 1.5. These obviously came from a collection where it was taken care of when Heritage got them, because I think that probably came from the Science one. Because they're low grade and they have structural issues, but the colors on that really pop. And that's like what, 1940?
Yeah, ironically enough, they're both 1940. One's like January and February of 1940.
Instagram Nights.
I mean, the yellows and the reds on that, it's just so bright.
Yeah, no, the colors are really good. Basically, here it's just the spine is mostly split, has some tape. Yeah, and that's the primary defect of the book. Otherwise, I think it has off-white pages, good color. Just unfortunately, the spine is the way it is. But I was good with it. Sometimes we chase in these books. I know some people are more in like, hey, I only want one of a particular grade or higher. But I mean, there are just so many books. It's like, well, I mean, I'm just going to kind of the cover looks nice enough. I'm gonna grab it or try to.
For books of that caliber and scarcity, those grades are fine for me. They're complete, they're unrestored, and they present great. So yeah, those are rock solid copies.
Yeah, my one thing about me, my only real bugaboo that I like practical never buy a book is my one thing I hate is I hate trimmed books.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's like trimmed. Like I just but
trimmed and incomplete aggravate me the most.
Yeah. And then lastly, I think I was maybe showing some people earlier, which was book here, which is again not in the same vein as the others, but I don't know. Honestly, I just stumbled across it, and I thought I actually kind of just threw a low enough bid. I was like, I don't know, we'll just throw a bid, and I took it. So I'm like, all right,
nice.
There you go.
Yeah. Good wins, great stuff.
Yeah.
Diaz, did you get anything new and exciting? No. I got some modern books.
Yeah, I mean, I got 2 copies of X-Men 107. One is like a 4.5 and one is like a 9.2. And I got a Hulk 340. That's like a Near Mint Plus newsstand copy, but I don't have it yet. So yeah, they're cool books. They'll be nice to clean up and slab and sell, but no, I don't have anything really to show.
Knights?
I brought out something. I got it a little while ago, but I haven't shown it. But it's pretty cool. If you want to put me on the thing.
Let's put you on the big screen.
So this is from 1974 or 5. It's the original D&D.
Ooh.
Yeah,
3-volume set. Look at that.
Nice.
Only 2,000 made. And they were hand put together by the dude, Gary Gygax.
Mm.
So
2,000 made, which means there's probably only maybe a couple hundred left.
yeah, not many, because I mean these things you gotta. I mean,
Yeah,
they bring these to whatever the D&D party and get all mashed up, and and the
How
little,
heavy is the box? Is it like a thick cardboard, or is it? I mean, how what's it constructed out of? Is it just like a reinforced cardboard, or
pretty thick? I mean, I would bet that you could. Let's see if I can open this.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, it's like an old board game.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But
Nice.
and this is actually from a Strange Tales. They ripped it off,
Wow.
and yeah, it's funny, Strange Tales, but that's why they changed it. They changed it to this. This became the new cover. If you not cover. This is the same. That design is for this book in here, which I have somewhere else. But they did a thing. I think it was the 4th print. They changed it to this. They ripped out. There was some other artwork that they kind of just copy. It was like a real kind of fan made thing back then. So a lot of people would just kind of copy stuff or just use stuff as reference, and they didn't think anything of it. And they certainly didn't think it was going to be as huge of a success as it was. And after the 3rd box, they made these white boxes. So they changed the cover to that, which is not copied or anything.
Nice.
So was the role of the dungeon master? Was that part of the game from the get-go?
Yeah.
Was it? Okay. I don't know. I thought
So you just need someone to kind of walk you through. He's like, you're in a dark tunnel, and you
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
But that's a cool thing.
cool. I like it. Everybody brought some.
There's a YouTube
Very-
channel.
If you see one, grab it, because they're very, very rare. And so this is 3rd print. And there's a 1st and 2nd one only at 1,000 each.
Wow.
And like a kind of decent copy of the 1st print, I think, went maybe a year or so ago for over 20 grand.
Jeez.
So
Picked up these for my kids.
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel. I think it's White Whale Comics. A bunch of guys in the comic book community that do Dungeons and Dragons. I think Sunday nights. I'm not sure, and they just play Dungeons and Dragons, but they do it live on the YouTube channels. You can watch, and sometimes I tune in and just watch it. It's interesting. I've never played it before, but people are still into that, and those guys play it, and it seems it's
There's a sister channel to Comic Con called the Mainframe Comic Con. They do it as well now.
I think there's going to be a movie or something coming out.
Yeah, there was back in the day. I remember the characters. They would sell the figures at the store, and I thought it was really cool. That they'd be at the comic shop, and now they have Magic cards, so it's always been a part of comics or in the comic shop, so to speak. I remember going in there and thinking that the knight character really cool looking and reminded me of like Dane Whitman, to be honest with you. It looked really cool. So I thought it was really I was always kind of intrigued by the guys that played that. Especially the old, I mean, you're talking about the time in like maybe 80 or late 70s, early 80s when I was too young to get into it. And parents were afraid at that point, kind of like kids playing Fortnite, I guess. I don't know if parents still get afraid. I don't get afraid of any kid.
There was a documentary that came out in 2019.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
About the art of Dungeons and Dragons, which I'm not into Dungeons and Dragons the game, but I really do like the art, and this documentary was really good. Yeah. If you're into comic books, you'll like this movie because it's about art, and there are a lot of artists that you'll be familiar with. Actually, some you won't. Sure. But I think Frank Frazetta actually did some very limited work. But yeah, the artist. It's a show about the fantasy art of Dungeons and Dragons and the different artists. It's a really cool. It's called Eye of the Beholder. I think it might be on Netflix. But really cool documentary.
I saw the movies coming out, and I'm trying to remember. It's a fairly big star or two that are going to be in it. It's a high. I think it's supposed to be a pretty high budget picture. It's not a low budget affair by any means. Nice. I always remember the Dungeons and Dragons, like I had like a neighbor, I could go over and play it, but then you have a friend whose parents won't let them come over because it's it's going to warp their minds and they're going to be worshiping Satan when they get home or something. So
yeah, that's me. That's why I never played it.
Okay.
So I'm going to shout out the chat in a minute here, but we get ready for our topic tonight. First of all, thank you all for joining us right off the bat. Thanks for being afraid. Mr. Chris Barrett, thanks a lot. He says if he wants to get more beads, we'll have to show a little more than some golden age comics. Well, that's why we call ourselves the Golden Guys. You'll never know what you're going to get. Anthony produces, hey guys, it's a show called The Hero's Journey Project, hosted by Nick, and eager to learn newcomer to Golden Age goodness. Maybe community should share some knowledge with him. We will check that out. We'll definitely put him on the list there. Ricky Markstead, always here. We got Mr. Gretzky. Thank God he's here. We can get on with that. Mr. Gretzky, I was thinking about you before. We were going over, wife and I were going over some hockey stuff and just normal stuff. C. Holmes, good look forward to Tuesdays. So here's another great one. Yes, we appreciate that. We really appreciate everybody joining us. And then we've got here Comic Man Musings, always wishing his salutations. Hello, JD Knights, DS and Lewis. Very cool. Well, that's very nice. Craig Turk. Hi, everyone. Loving the content in Golden Age books. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll keep the content going. I think we'll have a decent topic real soon here. We got Kavi here, our good friend Comics NYC, one of my very good guy in the community, as well as one of the best original art guys around. I'd hope to see him on Bill Cox's show coming up soon. We have Comic Padre here. Happy Fat Tuesday. Yes, it's Mardi Gras. It's always fun with that. Pure Wonka's here. Always get a comic and be watching the show. I get comic and be watching this show too sometimes, looking at everybody. I mean, I have a good collection. Don't get me wrong. It's just nobody's got the same collection, and we always kind of look at each other's stuff like, that's great. The little story on Clairvoyant. Clairvoyant, Jack Sparling.
So
yeah, nice. Jack Sparling's 1943 comic strip. At first, an amnesiac. Later, in 1945, she had the power of future sight. That's true. That is very good. There, Mr. Good. He had a cartoon. DS is here. Very good. Now, nothing of Clairvoyant, but what I do know is I do like Sparling Bronze Age horror stuff. Yeah, that's what I was going to get into right there. If you want some Jack Sparling, that's some amazing stuff. So
I have two other things real quick, if I could show you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just got them today, but I was pretty sure that I got ripped off because it was on like a Facebook thing, and it was like this really obscure listing, and it was like the guy's profile looked like a real ancient guy, and like he would definitely be fit here on the Golden Guys, but I was just like what the price wasn't like an amazing fantasy for $10. It wasn't like some insanely stupid thing, but it was still pretty cheap. But And then like I don't know, Facebook makes stuff like disappear. Like my whole conversation was, and I was just like, oh, great. Why did I fall for this? But they end up coming in, and it was just some toys, but they're pretty cool. You guys probably remember these things.
Oh yeah, Robotech.
Oh yeah, Robotech was the way to go.
But real nice condition. Like I don't even know if it was taken out of this thing. It's got like the stickers and all this.
Wow.
Yeah, and real nice. Like the price would have been good even if it was like all used. And then this other one too. So.
Nice.
Yeah, cool.
Well, yeah, usually I take the stuff out of the box, but I don't know. I might leave these in there just because they're so nice. But that's it. But so and then I remember I texted him like, you can take me off the big screen.
Sorry.
But I was like, I guess because he sent me like a tracking, and it was like super fast. So I was like, this is getting worse all the time. And then, you put in the tracking number, and of course it's like, waiting to get the items from the person or whatever step that is called, that first step where anyone can just print out or whatever, a label. So I was like, and then I wrote like, well, I assume this is a scam or something, I don't know, to the guy. And then like he didn't like respond back for like a few days maybe, or a day or so. But so I was like, yep. But there's not really much you can do about it right away. I tried to, that might be a good semi-topic, but what are the things you guys try to do to minimize the risk? Like, so what I did was I said, show me different pictures, and then write your info on a piece of paper with the stuff in a different picture. So at least it's like they have it. Doesn't mean you're going to get it, but like, at least it's not like I'm posting a picture of someone's collection that I don't even have, but yeah. And then he wrote me back. He's like, I'm insulted, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, and then I was like, well, I hope you're right. It's hard to it's hard to not assume the worst lately, it seems like. And then bam, it was all legit. It was just like, sometimes the post office doesn't, I don't know if it's just not updated fast enough or something. I'm not sure why it didn't update, but yeah, so there's still some great people out there.
Yeah, I don't mind taking risks. The greater the potential ward, the more likely I am to take the risk. But for just standard stuff, I usually just don't take a risk. If it's somebody on eBay that doesn't have a lot of feedback or has one negative, I don't even waste my time with it. But if it's like a rare book, and there's a chance the person just doesn't know what they have, like a Tomb of Dracula 10 in like a mid-grade for $20. Yeah, I bought it, and what's the downside? You lose $20 and you got scammed. But I actually got it. So I wouldn't lay out a ton of money probably, but I don't mind taking risks. Even if you buy from a good seller at a good price for something, stuff could still go wrong. It could get lost or damaged or whatever. So it's not like you can avoid risk. So even if you think you're not taking risks, you're actually just taking less risk. So if you take a little more risk, sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yes, especially this past year, if you wanted to be looking and buying books, you had to take out a little more risk. There's, multiple physical places to exchange money and books in hand, and every time I see his toy collection back there, you guys ever remember a Seinfeld episode? You guys ever watch Seinfeld?
Of course.
So of course, there's the episode where Jerry's dating the one gal, and he just wants to go over.
Tryptophan.
Yes. He just wants to put her to sleep so they can all play with their toys. I think that Knight's place. We're just gonna go over there. I just want to play with all this stuff.
I'm still looking for the Bigfoot, and I'm not paying $300 for the Bigfoot right now. But maybe in a couple of months I will. But that's the only piece of the $6 Million Man set I'm missing. I got 2 Oscar Goldmans, but this is the Mascotron, which I love showing that. The full Mascotron. Yeah. If you don't know, there's like 3 good villains in the whole run. But this is my favorite one was Mascotron and obviously Bigfoot, Andre the Giant. But
is there any tips you guys use? Like, so what I tried to do was I did, hey, have him send me an invoice so that it's as a goods, you know, and then pay with a PayPal credit card. And then, you know, I'll pay just send it as an invoice. I'll pay the 3%, you know, just pay that extra money so that, you know, and then, you know, I would guess PayPal would try to, and I guess you could maybe video. I videoed myself opening the box. I don't know if that would do anything.
I feel like you get the PayPal goods and services. I do both ways for things. When somebody buys something off me, I insist on. I don't even do friends and family.
Same here.
Still do, but
unless it's
I mean, goods and services, and then when you bought and sold and dealt with enough people, you get a sense if somebody's legit, and you're not always right, but you can tell when something seems off. Like a guy I bought something from, they had pictures of it on there, and then he told me he couldn't find it. Immediately, it's a scam, so I just canceled the transaction. And then what happened is he basically just wanted more money out of it, and so a couple weeks later, I saw it back up for sale for like triple the price. So, I mean, is that a scam? Sort of, but I mean, I knew that guy right off the bat was sketchy. So you get a sense of it. If something feels off, like trust your gut in the market, trust your gut with dealing with people, trust your gut on prices, trust your gut on stuff more than trusting numbers and what other people say and what's hot and what's prices, and just trust your gut is the number one rule. That's usually people, we know what's sketchy, but we want to believe something's right. But if it feels sketchy, it usually is.
There are some tricks that I've used recently when I buy the Golden Age books that are not slabbed on eBay. Quite a few of them. Like right now, there's one that he's got it with a number grade, not a letter grade. So I question it right off the bat. Not that I'm not against it, it's just that number grades were first, then came letter grades, but I trust letter grades because it's a little more leeway. If you're telling me a book's an 8.0, I don't know if it is. I would rather you just put down VF and leave it at that, because VF could be 8.5, could be 7.0. It's got a little range in there. But I recently spoke to, but like there's a few out there. If I don't recognize the seller, that's when I usually question. One of the things I do, like Knight said, is I ask for extra pictures. I usually ask for a centerfold picture. Then I know if I see the centerfold and I know the book, I then feel a lot more comfortable saying, okay, it's fully intact. Some of the books that you purchase or you look at, they always say the same thing. I'm not a professional grader, but this is a 4.0. Well, then if you're not a professional grader, don't put down 4.0. Also, I don't really, if it's a book that's slabbed, I know a lot of people ask me, has it been pressed? I always say not to my knowledge. And they say, well, does it look pressed? I'm like, it's been sitting in a slab for 10 years probably. I did not have it pressed and I had it slabbed, but it doesn't mean the guy who had it before me didn't have it pressed. And if you want to crack and press it, do that on your own. There are a few times I say these are correct. Well, if I'm selling, I say this is a CPR candidate, which just means it's a candidate because I see flaws that can be pressed out. It doesn't mean you're guaranteed a grade bump. I recently sold a few items on the CGC boards, and they're all getting packed up right now. We just didn't want to put them in the ware at the post office because I was told from the post office that they're not really moving stuff out right now. They're waiting for the trucks and the heat to get going again. And I don't know if these slabs are in, but I got some books from the Great White North in Canada that were really good price because they're in Canada. They tend to be cheaper. And so, for example, this is the 4th printing, which I think is the best printing, not named the first because of the purple color on the bottom. This was under 100, and it's a 9.8 white pages. It's already going for $250 and change. And the Miles book I wanted was this one. and I bid and won a 9.4 of the other one, and he sent this one instead. And I'm much more happier with this one, and same price, you know. And these are for my kids, but because I'm starting their collection with their favorite two characters. My son's favorite is Miles, and they love that. You know, he also likes Hulk, and she likes.
Yeah, you know my Dynamic Comics 8. Yeah, I got it right here. This one I bought raw from a shop. I can't remember, Michigan or Minnesota or something, but I didn't go there. But I contacted them. I don't know what kind of shop this is. I don't know anything about them. But I just asked them, can you do a page count, including the covers, and see how many pages there are, and then just shoot me some pictures. And there were 2 detached wraps in there and a detached cover. And the girl I talked to didn't seem very familiar with Golden Age. So, I mean, I took a risk buying this, but, you know, the last 2 Golden Age books I bought both came restored from major Golden Age dealers that they missed. This one came from somebody that really didn't know anything about the book, and it came back, you know, it's in excellent condition for this book. So, yeah, when you're dealing with Golden Age, every purchase is a risk. Even when there is no risk, it's a risk. The last 2 I bought both have restoration on them, and they came from well-known dealers. And, you know, sometimes it just happens. You just try to minimize your risk, but there's always going to be some risk. You know, I see people buy moderns and stuff, and they get scammed, and there's sketchy stuff. And, you know, you got to watch out for yourself. But when you're dealing with older books, there's a risk on all of them, and you just can't avoid it. So you just sort of have to find people you're comfortable dealing with, and then hope for the best. And then in this case, it worked out. The other 2, like I said, didn't work out. One I just sent in, it's, you know, I got it cheap, and then it's restored. And the other one I sent off to get the resto removed. Yeah, Lewis, that's the all new 7 or 9 I sent off to get the resto. So yeah, I mean, you know, there's risk all the time. Just try to minimize it.
Yeah.
What about if you meet someone? Well, go ahead.
I was saying, DS. I'm gonna clear some space back here for your book there, because I think it looked good back here. Yeah.
You look good up under the wall.
I'm gonna clear some space back here for that one, because I think it would go. I think it would go perfect.
I will keep it on ice for you. It'll be well taken care of here, and yeah, it'll be here whenever you want to see it. You just let me know.
Awesome. I bid once on that book in an auction, and then I lost very poorly. It was. I don't see it come up much. Maybe I'll give it another run sometime.
Yeah, there's the other 3.0, or one of the other 3.0s. I think there's less than 10 on census or something. But
yeah,
it came up for auction not long ago, like a month ago or so.
Oh, really? Maybe I missed it. Yeah, what did it go for?
Well, it went for $4,800. I think it was on Heritage. So the total with the buyer's premium was $4,800. But I actually think my copy's better. That one had a hole punch through the whole book.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah. It was like, yeah, it had whole. Yep.
That one was off white to white though. Mine's creamed off white, but we both have 3 total detached wraps. That one had a punch hole through the whole book and like a little chip missing. But yeah, that was the only other one I saw, and I probably would have went for that if I didn't have this. But
yeah, I'll say when I'm just my 2 cents is when I'm buying books. This is just me. I've always been this way, as John knows. Is like I've got sort of a limit in my head for a raw book. When I see raw books, like I kind of have a threshold. Like there's only so much I'm willing to trust on a raw book unless it's coming from a very specific source or a dealer or somebody that I know. And then my threshold for a slab is much higher. You know, if I use PayPal, if I use other sources, I'm pretty confident that I can probably get the transaction.
Black Cat 50, when I had that Black Cat 50, I had a 7.0 of that. I bought that raw, and instead of having it shipped, I actually drove 6 hours and met the guy.
There you go.
At a conference room in a bank and spent 45 minutes going through it. And it's a 7.0. So, I mean, it's a nice copy. And I remember when I was looking at it, I was almost wishing it was lower grade so I would be more comfortable because it was such a nice shape. I couldn't find anything wrong with it, but I'm like, there's no way it's in this good a shape. And I took a risk, and I gave him cash, which he deposited at that bank. And I drove back up 6 hours with a raw Black Cat 50 that I laid out cash. So there's no recourse, you know what I mean? And I sent it to CGC and it came back Blue Label 7.0. So I mean, I did my work on it and it worked out. But man, I was so nervous about that book after I bought it. But that was a huge risk. But I mean, I looked at it and I'm like, in my gut, I'm thinking, this book's legit. It's just nice. But in my mind, I'm thinking there's no way I came across one this nice, and I'm sitting here looking at a 7.0 Black Cat 50. But it did work out. But I was really nervous about that one.
Sometimes the riskier it looks, you eliminate a lot of competition. Like I remember I got this off of eBay, and the picture was so bad. Like it was all blurry, and it was like, oh, this is definitely, and the guy had no like previous comic knowledge or whatever, and
is that
so
complete?
I ended up getting it pretty cheap.
Is it complete? Everything? Or
yeah, it's all good.
Nice.
I got there's a
I
few
don't know
books.
if I word. That's a key book. I'm just kidding.
I heard.
A
But
lot of times-
this is like a variation though, because he's not green.
Yes. Very old variant. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great old variant.
It's color fading. You don't want to keep that one. You want to sell it to me or somebody.
Printing defect.
It's a defect. You don't want that one. I'm willing to just get you out of the book for a low price.
There was
that one, DS.
What's that?
I remember at one point you thought Hulk was pretty cool, the old Hulk.
Yeah, I'm going to get a Hulk 1. I want to get one this year, actually. I do want a Hulk 1. I'm not a Silver Age collector, but I have started to pick up some investment Silver Age stuff. But I want a Jim 83 because I really like Thor from my childhood. And I want a Hulk because it's like, it's sort of where like horror meets the superhero realm. Like superheroes started exploding then, and that was the end of like a lot of horror areas. And he's based on Frankenstein to a degree anyway. And I've had the reprints. I've read it. It's a really cool story and art, and I like the character. So yeah, I like that book because it's like right where horror has ended and superheroes are starting in comic history. And it's a really cool book, and it's based on Frankenstein, and it's a good investment. So yeah, I do want a Hulk 1.
There are
of the Marvels, of the Silver Age Marvels. I mean, is it not probably the lowest printed of the keys? I mean, am I wrong? I mean, is
Hulk.
I mean,
Yeah, Hulk it's FF1 and then Hulk, I think, is the lowest too. Hulk was actually a horror book with its own title at first. The whole plan of Hulk was to be a monster. And if you don't know, there's whether it be Doctor Strange, what Ditko or Kirby was doing was, there were always prototypes beforehand. There was no prototype of the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man. Thor was never a prototype. He was just going to be added to the Journey in the Mystery Run. The story of Hulk was, there was a character, not so much a Hulk. There was a guy named Hulk, but there was also, or a monster named Hulk. But the Frankenstein-ness of the Jekyll and Hyde / Frankenstein combination of what Hulk was what the whole storyline was going to be. And it was not going to be, and it wasn't a long run. They did not write it to be more than 1 or 2 issues. So when it ended, it wasn't very successful. So they are the lowest print runs that are survived, because a lot of them, and Hulk, if you ever notice this, if you're looking around, back then when they ripped the top off of the book and shipped it back, there's a lot of Hulks that are missing that top because it didn't. Yeah,
Another thing I like about the Hulk 1 is, of all the Marvel Silver Age keys, that one is always the best centered copy. I don't know, when they printed that, they nailed it. The other ones are a little bit all over the place. That one, every single I see is perfectly centered, all of them.
And the other ones were always in already titles. I mean, Amazing Fantasy had, 13 is a very good book. I mean, it's an absolutely gorgeous Ditko work. And before Spider-Man came out, and you can get that for $500 in a good mid-level grade. But Fantastic Four was its first of its kind, as well as X-Men and Hulk. And the rest, Journey into Mystery was a known title run from the 50s all the way on up, as well as Tales of Suspense, started in 1959. So it's a title that was still going. Iron Man was introduced, not to be used anymore. Iron Man did not get his own solo title till over, 6 years later, as Thor. Journey into Mystery, Thor 83 is just, there's a Thor story, but that's not the only part. And that continued up to about some in 85. Then it starts to become him by himself eventually. But
but then they still have, like, even when it's Journey into Mystery with Thor all the way up to 125, and then even in those they have the Tales of Asgard stories.
Tales of Asgard was very popular.
The growing up story. They have other stuff in there, so there's still multiple stories, but they're all Thor Asgardian stuff.
Right.
And then in 126, it's just straight Thor all the way.
And Tales of Suspense started with Iron Man and it kept going, but there are other stories in there, and obviously Strange Tales. That goes way.
The biggest story in the first book.
Yeah, Strange Tales is one of the first ones, and that when you go into, it's where the Human Torch gets, and they bring back. I guess they technically bring back Submariner or Namor in Fantastic Four, but then he has a little run, and then in Tales to Astonish, Hulk gets transferred from his own title to Tales to Astonish. But in the Golden Age, to reiterate this one, on the Golden Age, what makes the Cap 1 being its own title, Superman was his title in action, not its own. Batman was a detective, not on its own. What I think the one thing about Captain America that separated it was its own. Wonder Woman, Sensation Comics was a Wonder Woman comic, but it did have other stories in there as well.
And Flash, too. Same with Flash.
Until Flash, all Flash was a specific book about just Flash. Before that, Flash Comics was a title that had other stories in the Flash, and obviously a lot of people didn't get their own titles. When you had when you do that in the Golden Age with the superheroes, or you do it in the Silver Age, that's what makes them a little bit more attractive. What Hulk separated that as being the only individual character with his own title of all of the other ones, until you get to Daredevil 1. I mean, Spider-Man doesn't count for Amazing Fantasy because Amazing Fantasy was around. But when Spider-Man 1 came out, obviously it was early. But outside of Daredevil 1, that's the first time a character gets introduced on his own title since Hulk 1.
Well, the X-Men, right?
Well, that non-team. Because team was something that always had their own. Well, every team showed up as their own. I mean, even Avengers, even though it's not an individual first appearance of anybody, really.
And they had to cancel a book anytime they did a number one.
Yeah.
Because they could only publish eight. What was it?
Right.
Eight a week or something? 8 a month?
Separate number. Yeah, it was a specific number of books that they were doing because the budget didn't allow it.
DC controlled it. DC wouldn't let them do it.
Amazing Man is a great example of that. Yeah. Airboy is a great example. Airboy had Airboy stories. When it wasn't just his own title, then you introduced the Heap, and Heap had his own separate storylines in Airboy comics. And just thinking of comics with cat characters, Catman. Catman comics had separate stories in Catman. It wasn't just a whole book on Catman. Wiz was pretty much Captain Marvel off the bat, but then they started adding some others, and then they started getting their own titles. I'm trying to think of a few other ones from the Golden Age that had characters to it. I mean, outside of like the Dick Tracy, had his own Dick Tracy. Spirit was his own. But when you go into like the major, and the Disney had their own thing going on, but it's just one of those good things that are. The Wonder Comics introduced a few characters. I don't know if any of them got there. Miss Fury, I guess that counts as one. She started, but a lot of Miss Fury, I think, was a police story, right? Or no, that was somebody else was a police story.
So I have a question, not to go like.
Go ahead.
Since there's been some talk here for Silver Age, the Golden Age. So as I think 2021's a new year, fresh year, right? So what's everybody's projections in the market? Do you suspect the golden age market is going to, like, let's say you had 10 grand to place on a market, treat it as an ETF or a mutual fund. Which one?
Or a crypto.
Or yeah, is this going to be crypto? It's just going to go up?
I mean, like what books, what era, what type of books?
I would just say the market as a whole. I mean, I'm always interested as far as the demographic that's chasing golden age books versus. To me, I always figure if there was a slice of a pie, right? This in my head, I always figured if the comic market, you probably have 50-60%. If you're not collecting moderns or more, probably the vast majority are going after the Silver Age pie, and then you have us over here. There's a sliver that go after the Golden Age. But going into 2021, I'm always curious to say, like, let's say if it was a mutual fund, you got to put 10 grand down. Which market do you think?
And then when do you take it out?
I'd like to say this. Yes, I'm very
2021.
happy with Mike's statement. If I had $10,000 to buy any book,
wait, but when do you trying to
just say
by year end?
Let's say by year end. Let's say
just 1 year.
Yeah, let's
I
say
would say Planet Comics, riveted issues of Planet Comics would be the most. I think it is still has room to grow even more. I think the desire for Planet Comics is going to be almost as where I see pulps skyrocketing. I don't think Planets. I think that pulpiness of Planet Comics, the sci-fi of it, for some reason, I still think they're undervalued. Of all the golden age of the books that I think should be worth the most is the Riveted Planets, the early Planet 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just my own opinion again. I just think that is the book that is the series of books with the most to grow in the shortest time frame, because once they start selling, they tend to sell and they keep getting momentum. And I just think they're just too good of a book. They should be up there with your not again. The rarity isn't there with the Fantastic and the Amazing Mans and the other ones, but they are the better of all of them. They are the best true comics through it from start to finish. If you're a collector, Planet Comics would be mine. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I think Golden Age sci-fi is definitely a category that's got a lot of room to grow. That includes the Planet Comics, early Fox stuff, some of the L.B. Cole sci-fi stuff, the Blue Bolt, the Flight 11, the Captain Arrow 26, that type of stuff. So I think the Golden Age sci-fi is a really good category. I also think the World War II timelies they're moving up to a new level. Like they've always been sort of like the Cadillac of World War II 40s books. And I'm seeing a lot of the bigger issues pop, and some of the other ones, that upper third of the Marvel World War II, the timely World War II stuff is starting to move up to a higher level. I think that's going to continue for a while. And some of those are just going crazy.
Do you think
all those are moving? And I think some of like the darker DC stuff, like the off-brand DC hero stuff, like the Solomon Grundy, All American 61, like some of the more funds and the All Americans, some of that off-brand, like the non-Batman Superman stuff. That stuff's I hate to say Batman Superman's played out, but I mean, there's no surprise there. Everybody knows about the techs and the actions and all that. But you got like the whole DC thing, the more funds, the All American, the stuff like that. That's kind of a little funkier. It's been ignored for a while, and I'm seeing some of these Spectre covers and some of the Sandman covers, the Dr. Fate stuff, stuff like that. I think there's a lot of room to grow on those.
I was going to throw National Comics as my backup because I think there's a lot of room in National Comics as well.
Yeah, I mean all the MLJs, the quality stuff, all that stuff is good. You can't go wrong with anything. Like, I don't know, 1939 to 1941, you can hardly go wrong, I feel like.
There's a rule of thumb I always go by, like sometimes when I've bid on timely books, don't ever try to bid up against like another timely collector, because
That's why I don't own any.
They don't play fair. They just it's like every time if you're going up against like a timely collector, those folks just drop briefcases of cash out of the sky or something. There's like they just so
I don't know. You got a Science 1 over there.
Wow, but compared to some timely books, I mean, birdcage lining compared to
I would
some.
think you'd get the same amount of competition for a book like that, and that a book like that is what I would actually recommend, because I'm not really the gambling type, especially if you're like just for a year and then you're gonna get rid of it. Oof, gosh, I don't know, because usually I have, if I don't like something, like personally, I can't. I usually won't buy anything.
Airboy brought up the Shadow comics.
Yeah,
Some
but-
of the
but I
volume, you have to pick the right volume of Shadow.
Yeah.
That's the tough part with Shadow. You got to get the right volume, but they're in there. They're up there. I think there's a little bit of momentum with Shadow as well. Again, it's all our opinion. I think every Golden Age book is worth.
Well, but what I would do,
But
I feel comfortable. I mean, maybe in a year you won't make a ton, but I feel like you'd be safer. Is because a year from now, who knows? Maybe because I do think if there is a bottom dropping out of this craziness, it's gonna be the like peon little stuff, the stuff that you could always replace, the stuff that shows up 5-10 times a year, the stuff that people are kind of hoping to, the stuff that's surfing the waves of the big books pushing stuff up. Like a lot of the Golden Age is pretty niche, and if all the big stuff didn't get crazy, that stuff I don't think would have been as high, or you never know. So I would pick, if it was like 10 grand or something, I would go for something that is rare and is a key, like a number one science, a number one planet, something like that, where if you go to sell it, you're going to be able to command something, because you don't just see a Planet One or a Science One every day. It's not only is it rare like some of the later planets and stuff, but it's a key book. It's the number one. So you're going to have more people wanting it. It's going to be rare. And if things went terrible, it's still probably going to hold its own. And I think if you put a lot of money into the, 10 grand or something, the higher you go, as long as you're not competing like some crazy thing, I feel like that market is a little bit safer in a way. I think just the people who can afford to play in that market are a little more stable, so they're not like throwing their books out all of a sudden.
Part of the difference, I would think. Yeah, I would say like from one book, it actually is a timely that I don't even know what grade you can get for 10 grand, but I don't want to say this book is underrated, but it's one that I would certainly have always had an interest in, and that's the Daring Mystery #1.
Yep.
I think it's a sci-fi cover. It's a very, very early, timely book. You don't see very many of them, and so I always think it kind of fits a lot of the genres that we kind of like. But again,
Very tough book.
People are onto it. I don't know how many are out there census-wise, but that would be a book I would.
Books like that, there's a difference if the market significantly changes or like the bottom drops out, as Knights was saying. You're going to see that there are different like right now everything's high, so it's just the comic market. But when the bottom drops out or there's massive changes in one direction, you're going to see these markets separate, and some are going to stay high and keep going. Some are going to completely drop. They're going to break, and it's going to be noticeable to separate markets. And this Golden Age market is so cover art driven that it's more of a fine art category than it is a comic book category. You could have the bottom drop out of Bronze Superheroes, and I don't think that would have any effect on the Golden Age stuff that we collect, because it's more like fine art collectors are going after. Like nobody even cares what's inside that Science One. Now, I did read it online, and it's really cool inside, but nobody gives a crap what's inside the Science One. But it's a piece of fine art, as opposed to a Werewolf by Night 32 or an ASM 1. Those are character-based, history sort of story-driven comic books, as opposed to the Golden Age comic books for the most part. A lot of it's like in a fine art category. So you're going to have the markets are going to separate at some point. And if the art market crashes, maybe Golden Age will crash and the superheroes will still be good. If the superhero market crashes, the fine art category might stay up. So they're separate markets, but it's hard to distinguish them now because everything's hot. So I'll be curious to see what will happen.
Yeah, I
don't
use
know how much
I use
is
it
Silver Streak
might
goes.
not be a bad analogy, but basically, like if you had, like a room full of all attractive gals, but they're all wearing makeup, but you stop selling makeup, the ones that are naturally pretty are going to be pretty regardless, right? Right. So the ones that are pretty are still going to be pretty, even when the others no longer have all the makeup and the lights turn on the bar, right, at 2:00, and they go, So eventually the lights are going to come on, and you're going to realize, hey, these are still pretty. And these ones, that's just my analogy.
One of the other titles or runs, there's two that come to mind: Silver Streak and Contact.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think of those as, well, maybe not Silver Streak 1. I mean, for $10,000, what would you get a Silver Streak 1?
Silver Streak 1 for $10,000?
You would get higher than a 2, right?
You're not getting a 2 for $10,000.
Yeah. But Contact Comics doesn't really have the push behind it.
So the Cole, Contact, like LB Cole,
yeah.
12.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of think of that as a book when he brought up LB Cole.
Yeah.
Of all the LB Cole books, that Contact book is in a category of its own for LB Cole. I think it is an underrated work of his. And I see much more people interested in that LB Cole neon blacklight style, but that true Contact one is probably the book that of all the LB Cole I would, and just because Airboy put out the LB Cole, or I think it was Airboy or
I think it was Airboy.
Airboy put out something about there, and I kind of thought if I was going to pick any LB Cole book for that amount, I'd probably go with the Contact.
Well, I'll tell you, for the LB Cole sci-fi, here's how I'd rank them, and you guys are not going to agree with me, but Blue Bolt 105 is at the top.
Okay.
Then I like Flight 11. Flight 11 is next for me. Then Captain Arrow 26, and then Blue Bolt 108, and then Contact 12.
Okay.
Now I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and of the 5 core LB Cole sci-fis, the Contact is at the bottom of my list, but it is above the Blue Bolt 103 or whatever, 106, whatever that one with the weird funky like alien that's standing like this. It's like a blue. That one's not even on my list, but Contact's at the bottom of my list. But I know it's for most of the guys, it's right up there with Blue Bolt 105. So
I always compare that with the Flight book.
Yeah, I like the Flight better. It's got more depth.
Oh, and yeah, that character.
It's two-dimensional and flat.
It is, but that's why I think it sells at a much lower price.
It's a very unique work of art. Look, I love Contact, but I just love the other ones more. But if I saw a Contact 12, if I got a Contact 12, I would be over the moon because I freaking love that book. Right. But, Blue Bolt 105 puts it to shame for my personal tastes. But a Contact 12 versus almost anything else is awesome. So
right. I just think for the price, what I was looking at when I was going through my LB Cole run of books for the LB Cole, because I'm planning on doing something in GS. I'm going to work with you on that about LB Cole, the new love affair with his, not just his horror or his jungle, but now the sci-fi love. The Blue Bolt 105 is up there, obviously the Flight 11 and the Contact, and I just see that for $10,000, your highest grade of the 3 would get, probably the Contact would get the highest.
You'd have to get into like the 7.5,
which is which I think would be the hardest to find.
Yeah,
I usually don't see those graded higher than 4s.
I'll tell you, for $10,000, you could get any of the top 5 I mentioned. You could get any 2 of those in 4 or 5 slabs and have money left over.
Right, but I think the Contact, you might be able to break that. The Golden Age 7.0. We know that's the number.
It's out there. That's out there.
Yeah.
The tough one would be Blue Bolt 105, not because they're not out there, but nobody ever sells them.
Right. That's just possession.
And Captain Arrow 26, I don't know if nobody sells them. It's not nearly as hot of a book, but you don't see them come to market very often, and there are plenty of them out there. The Flight 11, plenty of them too. Sometimes I just don't see that many, but the Blue Bolt 105 is like the rest, but nobody ever sells it. You see like one a year, honestly.
Okay, so now we have that. So let's do the opposite. What book would you short right now? In other words, what book would you sell, or which book would you sell now and then buy back later on in a year from now? Do you think is going to come down? And my personal opinion, I know it's going to aggravate people on this one. I would sell short any Phantom Lady or Black Cat 50.
I'd say maybe those Frazetta famous funnies. Maybe.
No way.
That's a gamble.
I wouldn't say those. Those are all nice. Those are finally
There's
getting
so many of them. I don't know.
There's so many of them compared to Golden Age, but there's like 50 of the one of those on like 213. There's like 50 on the census.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
There's not hundreds and hundreds. There's like 50, maybe 60 now. But I mean,
Yeah, that's a lot less than I thought.
like Frazetta art is millions of dollars.
I think that Frazetta's then will just keep going then.
Yeah, I think they'll keep going. I mean, I would look. I think there's a 5.5
Fine art.
13 in the Heritage Auction for Sunday night coming up.
The
It
John.
would not surprise me to see that break $7,000.
Which one? I'm sorry.
213.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The purple cover with the creature that's mostly in the shadows entering the spaceship.
Oh, yeah.
Where do you think
5.5
that
off
would-
white to white on coming up on Sunday would not surprise me to see that break $7,000.
Damn.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a
And
lot.
I think the last one sold maybe for like $3,000 or $4,000. I would expect that to go really high.
And the main reason I'm saying the Phantom Lady is the more people look at it, the more people that have it, from what I've talked with them, the better the better good girl cover of the Phantom Ladies, and I gotta look this one up where it's that Blue Beetle with the girl taking her top off is easily much more desirable now than I've ever seen that book before. And I've seen more people say, well, think about it. What I've seen on the board sell lower than the last one, where people like, hey, I paid $10,000 for this thing. I'm selling it now for $9,000. I've seen that in the Phantom Lady world. I haven't seen it in the Blue Bolt world. I haven't seen it in the Hit Comics world. But if you want to know my personal opinion of why the Phantom Ladies, because they had such a high pop and a big bump 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, they skyrocketed. I mean, all of them.
I don't think there's that many of them though.
There's a decent amount.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I mean, 17 is such a high profile book, and I feel like I can't think of like more than like 10 or 15 individual copies I've even really seen going around in the past like 10 years.
I think
Pretty low. And I don't see people posting like, oh, here's 20 of the Phantom Lady 17s I got.
Well,
the
yeah.
Magnificent sort of tanked. It was hot, red hot for a while, and it sort of tanked. I had a couple bakers that I quickly moved and got good prices, but I remember the last one I had it was the Diary Secrets, whatever, was where she's sitting on the lawn, like outside, they're having a picnic. I can't remember the number, but it was like a nice like 4.0 copy of that. I took it to a con, and I just wasn't getting any interest on it with people, and I was like, "What is going on? This is a hot book." And everybody I showed it to, dealers and collectors, they're like, "Yeah, that book's really not as good as it used to be. Last year, you could have got $1,200 for it." And man, I got like $500 for it, and so that was disappointing. And I just noticed for a while that the Baker stuff was really cooling off. I think some of it will keep going, but I mean, I don't have a good eye for the GGA stuff. And when I look at the Phantom Ladies, for the most part, they don't do anything for me.
There's 100. There's over
100 with the octopus. Is that a Rula where she's fighting that octopus? That's a good Baker one. And I like the Seven Seas with the shark. That's a good Baker one. But some of these Phantom
So
Ladies,
there's 100 of those 17s.
yes, on
Damn.
the C census.
Maybe someone is hoarding them then.
Well, first of all, there's a lot of them at every grade. You don't have any. Let's go below 9. You got 4.85, 6.80s, 4.75s, and then if you go to the restored, you got an additional 5. Qualified, you have 2. But they're there. I mean, the Phantom Ladies are out there. They do swap hands. They did trade at premiums, and like Ned said, it is really high. The Spirit comics with that was very hot for a while. People are there, where the Venus book kind of is stagnant right now. But the books that I think that have oversaturated, oversold some of the PCH over the last 2 years. But if I were to take my money, if I were to, in this world, it might not make sense. If I were to write a covered call on anything, and then buy with the money, I would sell the Phantom Lady and buy the Planet One.
So here's my books. I've got some crazy thoughts. One of them, and I'll lead off. You're probably gonna think I'm crazy, but it's not because it's not a neat book. It's just it seems like there's been several sales of the book, and that's Captain America 1.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's not because, and so it's not that I'm shorting.
Yeah.
I think it's a terrible book. It's a classic cover. It seems as if like it's out there to get, and sometimes maybe it's just me. It's just one of those like availability like decreases like desirability.
Well, that one, yeah, I agree with you. If I owned one and I was going to sell it, if I had like, let's say a 5.0, that's a dangerous book to just throw up in a heritage auction with no reserve, because sometimes they go to the moon and sometimes they just fall short. It's like so volatile on that, and there are a lot of them, and you don't know what else is going to be up in the market at the time yours is up.
Right.
But if you're buying a Cap 1, I feel like you can pick your spots still. That book, it's not like it has a trend line. It's just spotty all over the place. It's not dependable. I mean, it's a huge book, obviously, but it's really hard to gauge what any of those copies are going to go for, and there do seem to be a lot. So as a buyer, I think you're in good shape if you want a Cap 1, because you can pick your spots, and there's a lot of grade ranges, so you can get a good price ranges. But if you're selling one, I think you should be very careful about just tossing it up in an auction, and then you throw it up on a C-Link featured auction 2 months from now, and then there's a slightly better grade in the heritage auction around the same time, and then one coming up 30 days later on Connect. And I mean, we saw that one. I can't remember the grade, but it went way lower than we thought.
Yeah, but there
was only a 2.0 for 70 grand. So I mean, it's tough to tell with that book.
At that level, though, I mean, who can understand when these people are throwing 100K around? I mean, and what I've seen of Cap is I've seen over the past 10, 15 years, you went from maybe being able to get something, a copy of it, like the entry level has at least doubled, maybe tripled, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So that's kind of the more realistic market, in my opinion, because once you're past like 50K, like, I mean, I can't tell how those people, and like you said, they can kind of.
There's a lot of other factors that determine over 50K what the book's going to settle at. And if you've been holding a Cap 1 in mid-grade for the last 40 years, you send it to Heritage, what's the difference? But if you're an investor and you're in and out of books and you've got a mid-grade Cap 1, you got to be very careful about your auction placement. Because other ones that show up on the market around that time is going to affect the sales.
But a low grade, like stock market, keeps going up. From what I've seen,
I think you definitely like a low grade or like a super high grader. I mean, it's just that middle. It just seems like you just see them come.
That's all the sweet spot.
And me personally, I was like Cap 3 is probably. I always think that's the classic of the other. Okay, and now here's if I was going to short a complete section of books. And there's one book I might just pay the market just to never show me again, and that's World's Finest #3 or whatever that. Yeah. If I could just pay people to like hide that book,
World's Finest is
like every time I go, I don't know why if you go to conventions and like, hey, there's like a box behind the box, it's got cobwebs and it's just World Finest books. So I don't know.
But there's people that collect the Batman villains.
I know. I know.
Batman collectors collect the keys. And the Batman villains are nice keys. They're legit scary, cool villains, not like the garbage Superman villains, you know, where he's got like Mixapplick and all these. Like Luther's the badass ass of the Golden Age action. He's just a dude, you know. He's just a regular crime lord, sort of.
What about Batmite?
Batmite.
Yeah, Batmite's a little weak, but I'll tell you, even the Batmite feels pretty good. If you have a first appearance of Batmite in a nice grade, it's easy to move, honestly.
Yeah, easy move.
Yeah, the one cover stuff, but I mean, it's the first Scarecrows.
I think going forward, like I think Batman, like you got to think about it, if people as generations move on, I tend to think that Batman will have. I think Superman stuff will always be popular. Batman. I think a lot of the Superman books, honestly, this is just my take, just me. Like how many like Superman fans do you know that are like just huge Superman? Like
I know of some. Yeah, there are. There's
like of the Superman books. I just wonder over time, like how those will fare. You know, outside. I'm not saying Action 1. I'm not saying so, but I'm saying a lot of those Superman books. I just wonder how they'll fare.
Well, I think the Superman books that I would be investing in if I were buying Superman books would be the serious ones, the ones where he's bending cannon barrels, or he's hitting trains, or he's in the crosshairs going after a U-boat. You know, the more serious ones. But the ones where he's sitting there getting his hair cut or playing catch with the kids, like those are good Americana, but I don't feel like they have a.
Those are only popular if lots of people love Superman.
A lot of people.
Those other ones are just always gonna. Any book I feel that transcends genres, like if the horror collectors kind of like it, you know, like I kind of like. Yeah, I love this book. This one.
Yeah, Chamber 19.
You know, and I like Phantom Lady 17. I like Suspense 3. Like, and I'm not really in that market, but I think books, and then vice versa. If those people, if they can appreciate, you know, maybe the Holocaust Cap cover or the Captain America Red
crossover appeal.
Those are the ones that I think are the safest. Blue chip. Those are blue chip.
The superhero character I would buy now, because you can get him pretty cheap, is Alan Scott Green Lantern. I mean, the first Green Lantern. I think they're underrated, and they're absolutely the best. Of like Green Lantern 3 to me, if you know that cover, is so bad, difficult to find. It's a black cover. That's one of those I would say jump on that, as well as Submariner. The two right there, the early subs, especially Marvel Mystery 2. I talked about this book with Lewis the other day. I think
you mean 4?
For the first with the submarine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 4. That one, because it is a Schoenberg, but it's a very different drawn Submariner. But I do think that one of those two characters are the two I there. And the character, and I hate to say this, I would probably not buy of the Golden Age superheroes. I would probably stay away from. Is a DC character that everybody's now jumping on is still Wonder Woman. I still think you can get Wonder Woman cheaper in about a year from now.
Yeah, I feel like the Wonder Woman trio, you know, Sensation, Wonder Woman, and All Star, that trio, they're huge. When you get below that for Wonder Woman on Golden Age, yeah, I feel like they're attainable for almost anyone. You can pick up really early Golden Age Wonder Woman for not a lot of money. I feel like there's
because Wonder Woman 6 isn't 6 with Cheetah. That one's kind of, but yeah, I hear what you're saying.
6 is also hard to find. 8 6 and 8 are very hard to find of that run. I think Sensation is a book that they're. Which one is that?
This is number 2.
That's 2. Okay. And show 4.
This is number 3.
Ooh, that's the one you've been finding for a long time, right?
Yeah.
That's the one.
This is 4.
Right. That book there, it's a different drawn subby. Let me put you on the big screen. This book, I think,
this is the Pulp Schoenberg era.
That's a Schoenberg cover, and it looks very different than any other sub.
And his early stuff is very pulpy.
Yeah, and I think it's a very underrated of all the timelies. That's the one that I'm thinking there's more to that book than we know. There's a lot more into it.
And you were right. You know, you said something about the first Nazi something, and I was like, no, that's Top Notch 2. But I saw this the first Nazi flag. Yeah, so
Right.
you were right.
Nazi flag, yeah.
What's number 3 in front of it? Can you bring that one out again? That's like right in my wheelhouse there. It's got some skulls happening. It's,
3 is impossible to find.
I got that already, Lewis.
This one drove me insane.
yeah. I think I've only seen that one in the Gerber book, I think. Yeah, I've never seen it for
I
sale.
had no clue it would be that terrible to get.
Yeah.
Lewis and I went looking. Remember at C2E2, I asked everybody, I need a Marvel Mystery 3. I went to Vince. I went to Carbonaro. I went to everybody.
Yeah, I was making these guys always try to get me one.
And I told him, I said, just see what you can do.
And then
I gave him my list, and I had a list of 5 books.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
and that's the first Schomburg torch.
Right. Which
Wow.
which remember I said the Carl Burgess.
So pulpy.
Carl Burgess drew the first torch.
No, it was
Not
Paul
Bill.
something. It was like a pulp guy.
Oh, Paul Pelletier. Or?
Oh, the cover you're talking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul.
I think it's
Something Paul. I don't know. DS, you usually know the name of it.
It's Frank Paul.
Frank Paul. Okay.
okay.
Frank Paul did a lot of science fiction pulps, and then he did Marvel 1. He also did Superworld comics. I think they only did 2 issues, and he did covers on
That
those.
was a great one.
But I think that's of the Golden Age books.
Except no wings.
Right. No wings, different drawn. Schomburg, amazing Schomburg work. And I think there's more to that book. And when I do see that come around, I do get a little more excited when I see that being offered for sale. I'm always thinking I'm going to see that book break some levels that I haven't seen it before.
I think some people are holding them
Yeah. I think that's
because of the Submariner,
yeah, Namor.
with the movie and all this.
And I put the Green Lantern 3 right with that because that's a book that I think even your Dark GA guys would like that one.
How long have you had those? I mean, just out of curiosity, like when you started collecting, like if you, I mean, I guess I say, how long did it take you?
I think I've had this like 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
It was less than 2K.
Yeah.
Nice.
I remember when you told me what you were going to get that Marvel Mystery 3 for.
Oh God.
And you
Well,
said
that was expensive.
right. But you flat out said I remember you said, "Hey, I paid more for that than I paid for 2 and
Yeah. I think I paid more for this than maybe. I mean, I think all 3 of these was probably almost the same price as that.
Yeah.
That's the 3.
And this is slightly brittle.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's from a bound volume. I mean, it is it's a funnies file copy or whatever. So that's, but still, and
Find-
the cover.
Did you
the
find it?
covers are amazing.
Like, where'd you find it?
This was on like Heritage or something.
Heritage. Okay.
I had to resort to that, and
Did you crack
I had to compete. I had to throw down. That's the thing. I was going to ask you about that science, because that would be a book where if I was going after, I would assume you'd have to be like, "Here we go."
Yeah, it's that's pretty much what you have to do. You see a couple books, you just got to put your helmet on and say, "Let's do this thing," So you've got to, yeah. That's kind of what I've learned.
All right, you can take me off those.
Okay, sorry. I just want to say, I just love that.
Yeah,
book.
I mean,
That's my favorite timely of Submariners. My favorite of, and I'm not a big fan of collecting swastika.
no
flags.
way though. That's not even close to the best Submariner.
No. I think it's the key Submariner.
No.
Yeah. Knights brought up. Well, it's the first cover, right?
But there's one that I think it's so there's Marvel 1 and Cap 1. Those are like the interchangeable, depending on who you are. You think those are one of those is the number 1. Then there's Cap 3, and I don't know. There's like 10 books, but I'd say this is absolutely up there.
Oh yeah.
Like maybe the 3rd book. I mean, I would have to take this over Cap 3 if I had to choose.
I never even see that come up for sale anywhere ever.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it keeps getting harder and harder to come by.
Nobody ever wants to sell their copy, and there's probably not a ton of them, but nobody ever sells any of them.
Now, one of the I wanted to ask DS about a book that I think has room to grow in the horror world that doesn't really gets love, but not enough, I think, is some of the Beware titles, in particular Beware 6, 10, which we talked about a lot last week. I think that of the horror genre has been overlooked by your Chambers and your Black Cats.
Yeah, the horror stuff, look, the entire genre exploded. Basically everything except ACG and Atlas really exploded. Those just got left behind. But since so many people have poured into PCH, it's sort of settled down a little. And what it's settled down to is that the marquee books and more are still growing into that marquee status. Like Out of the Shadows 8 is the marquee book at this point. That's not cheap. Mr. Mystery 18, stuff like that with the decapitations. Those are becoming into the marquee category where the obvious ones already were, like Weird Mysteries 4 and Black Cat 50 and Chamber 19, all that stuff. But then the other ones, like, I don't want to call them fillers because I love all of them, but those have settled back down to lower prices as more people flooded in and the genre has sort of figured itself out and dropped, broken into tiers. And then you're finding still some of the books that are left behind are starting to climb. A lot of the Atlas books, especially the ones that today we consider massive, expensive Atlas books, like Venus 19, those were not super expensive a few years ago. And everything exploded. Those were not exploding like everything else. They've caught up. And the Atlas stuff, generally, there's so much good Atlas stuff out there. That stuff is starting to pick up. And what's really become very sought after in PCH is like 5.0 to 7.0 range PCH books, because people are finding out that these books are tough to find and grade. A lot of these publishers outside of Harvey and Atlas had crap condition paper, and you can find 5.0s or 6.0s of some of this stuff. It's a real gem. It's a real find because there's just not a lot of good quality stuff out there. So mid-grade PCH is strong, really is. And then lower grade PCH has dropped off. Even the big books in lower grade have dropped off. If you have a Weird Mysteries 4 or a Mr. Mystery 6 in like a 2.0, it's not going crazy anymore. It's settled down.
What about the Chamber of Thrills or whatever?
Well, Chamber 19 transcends PCH because it's one of the most iconic covers of all of comics ever. Everybody knows. If you could be a modern collector, Chamber 19. Bronze Age collectors know. Everybody knows Chamber 19. I mean, it was on a Misfits album. It's just one of the most iconic images in the history of comics. Everybody knows it. It's like AF-15, honestly. Everybody knows both of those covers. It's super expensive. It has crossover appeal. And the Black Cat 50, it's a black cover, and it's just grotesque in your face. And so those two lead the pack. And they're always going to be expensive, and they always were at the top of the line. They always still will be. But books like Weird Mysteries 4 and 5, those are awesome books. Some of like the Mr. Mysteries are really good. Some of the Atlas stuff are becoming really expensive. There's a lot of still growth. I'm watching these auctions, and 4.0s and 4.5s are going for $2,000. That's strong prices for like outside of the top 10 for PCH. So yeah, I think there's still really hot books, but a lot of the lower stuff and lower grade stuff has dropped off.
What do you think is going to happen when those people who have 20 of those books, because like they're these big books, right? Like Chamber, and then like the Famous Funnies and all this, and then like the Marvel, the Timely stuff I just showed. The difference is I don't ever see anyone like showing like 20 of these. Like those other ones I see a lot. And that affects me as far as like if I'm gonna go after one, I'm just gonna be like, I'm not gonna.
For Golden Age, though, the average PH book only has 20 or 30 on the census. There's somebody out there hoarding 10 copies, and there might be you know, if all of those hit the market at once, they would be scarfed up quick, and then you'd be right back at square one. There's even if you count the ones that people are holding multiple copies of, there's not that many of these PCH books out there. The Harveys, there's a ton of Harveys, okay? And Atlas books, there's a lot of copies of Atlas books out there. Outside those two publishers, there's not a lot of copies of any of these. You know, it's like a running joke when somebody says a book that has like 100 copies on the census is rare for something, and then everybody in the PCH world is like, 100 is common. I wouldn't even waste my time paying for that many on the census. That's like EC quality, where there's hundreds of them on the census. Good stuff, but you can see that even when you get into the 100 on the census for EC book, it holds the price down. You got like Crime Suspense Stories 22. The price does not move on that book because there's so many of them. Shock 6, same deal. Outside of the Harvey, the EC, and the Atlas, that stuff's rare, man. Like Fantastic Fears 6, that pink cover with the guy with the charm bracelet made of people. Man, there's less than 10 on the census for that. And there's a lot of PCH books like that that are just, you know, 20 on the census starts to be an available book for PCH. When I see a book where there's over 20 on the census for PCH, I start to say like, all right, I can move that back on my list because that one's easy to get. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's good. It's a great point because if you look at scarcity as a key component, you kind of stay away from your ECs, your Harveys, your Atlas. But there are some that transcend, like we talked about with the Venus 19.
Yeah, and what everybody's saying, my Mask 1 should lead the pack. Yeah, when I talk about PCH, I'm talking about the traditional definition of PCH, which is when a cover-to-cover horror comic book, which the first one was in 1947, and they really didn't start until like 50, 51. So like 50 to 54, horror, cover-to-cover horror, those are PCH books. The stuff in the 40s, like the Mask 1 and the Punch 12, I consider that a larger category called Dark Golden Age. That's what I call it, Dark Golden Age. Now, Dark Golden Age includes a lot of the bondage, some of the World War II stuff, and the PCH. All the stuff with the dark, creepy element to the cover art is dark GA. But the PCH is like a subset of that for me. It's like 50 to 54, the horror books, you know, the weird mysteries, the Black Cat, stuff like that. Chamber of Chills.
You know, I was thinking the other day, like for the pre-code horror, because I too share the affinity for those books. I'm trying to think, like, is there a book out there that's kind of a hidden gem that hasn't caught on as much? You know,
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about it here? Or do you want to buy it first?
I've seen a couple. I think, you know, Out of the Shadows 8 is really caught on. I think some of the Unseen, those are really quality, and you get a good quality condition of one of those Unseen title books. They're really good.
Yeah, I have like 3 or 4 in the run. I picked up years ago out of a bin. It's actually in pretty decent shape. It's the last one. It's the Barber, basically has the skull.
Yeah, that's a good book, man.
So
I always consider that to be like, it's always been like the underrated Chamber of Chills 18 brother.
Yeah. I always go through the pre-code horror, you know, things to think, and like, you know, there's so many things out there that's like, I always try to figure out, okay, I wonder what book will be the next.
Well, I think Mr. Mystery 18 is a good one if you can find it. Weird Mysteries 3 is a rock solid book, but it gets overshadowed by 4 and 5 so much. But 3 is awesome. It's got the ghost holding the decapitated head.
Yeah. Okay.
Guy, and it's badass. Some of the Unseens, the Ferals are not my favorite, but they're tough to find in good grade.
Ajax, yeah.
The standards, some of the standards are really good.
Yeah,
a couple that have good Jack Katz covers on those standards are really, really nice.
The Jack Katz
got some cool ones.
I would agree.
The one thing about the standard comics that I talked about this with a guy in the CGC board, why I think they are. Let me see if I can find the one I was going over. I said he was undervaluing it. First of all, I think the books that if you find, no matter what it is, grab a Centaur if you can.
Centaur?
Yeah,
Centaurs. That's like they have a cult following among Golden Age fans, and they are super cool. They're very early GA books. I mean, half the Centaurs are pre-1940, I feel like.
Correct.
And I guess probably Amazing Man 22 would be the marquee Centaur book. And that book's no joke. I mean, a 2.0 of that's over 20 grand when that comes up.
Yeah.
There's
Centaurs have hardcore fans.
There's always a Centaur book I've looked for here and there. Maybe I just haven't looked hard enough, but it's like this weird, it's like Funny Pages, number 38.
Yeah, with the arrow.
What's that?
With the arrow?
Yeah, well, it has like a fire. There's like this weird, creepy guy pointing and whatever it is. Yeah, I was gonna say I honestly don't know who the artist is on the book. It's you have to dig.
I don't know the artist on any of those books.
Yeah,
I never find out which one.
Every time I look at one of those and I look at who the artist is, I'm like, yep, don't know who that is.
Yeah. It's Funny Pages 38, I believe is the number. And I always think it's kind of a neat. It definitely has a Centauri-ish look, if that's a word.
Yeah, it's the font.
Yeah,
It definitely makes sense because you can tell a Centaur as soon as you see it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly. And so it's always one that.
Oh yeah, this one I've never seen it for sale ever.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yep. So basically, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's real cool. I've never seen one for sale, but that's what I'm saying. These Centaurs are so rare, and this is June of 1940. Let's see the census. Yeah, there's 8 on the census, which I feel like is a lot for a Centaur, but
You said 8?
8 unrestored on the census. Yeah, somebody's got a 9.2 of that.
Yeah, that's one of those that I've sometimes will like kind of poke and peek around for, but I've never seen one. But yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I was gonna say, fingers crossed this year we can actually get to an actual physical comic convention. We won't know what to do with ourselves with books in front of us.
Well, I've got tickets for Heroes Con that I've had now. This is the second year they've been transferred over. So hopefully we have Heroes Con in June, and then I go to Baltimore in October, and that's it. I don't do any other cons. I mean, I'll do some local stuff if it's or something.
I hope to.
Heroes Con is one I have not been to. I would actually. That's one I'd actually like to get to. So, it's still on, you said, for June? They haven't postponed it or pushed it back?
Well, they postponed it last year, and they told everybody who had tickets they were just rolling over your tickets to this year. And so far, what I've heard this year, it is going. Now, who knows? I'm cautiously optimistic that it will go. The difference, I only go to Heroes in Baltimore. I don't go to any of these other ones. But I'll tell you, both of those are loaded with Golden Age comic books and dark GA, and they are comic centered. There's not a lot of cosplay or movie stuff. It's just comics. The only difference is Heroes is so well organized. It's like grocery store aisles with signs hanging over them, and you can find everything easily. Baltimore is like a maze you get lost in, and if you see a book that you like, you better buy it, because if you go get something to eat, you'll never be able to find the booth again. That's how you get about Baltimore.
Yeah, I went to that Baltimore. We went there in 19, right before the.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I saw you there. We talked there. Yep. Yeah, AD was there too.
Yep. So you're right. There was a couple times I'm kind of wandering around. I'm like, holy crap.
It's not organized, man. It's just like just like a maze. But Heroes is like grocery store aisles with big signs hanging from the ceiling that says, aisle 5. And then you look on the map and it says go, Super World Comics aisle, is 502. So you just look up and you go to 502 and you go down the row and there it is. So easy to find everything, but it's almost like a lot of the same dealers, obviously, but it's like the same density of Golden Age at those two cons that it's just so much Golden Age. Like I try to look at everything. And then when I meet up with people later and they found some massive Golden Age book, on a Sunday, I never even saw it on Friday or Saturday. There's so much stuff to go through there. It's really, really good.
Fun for that. I remember being at Dave and Adam's booth and a guy coming over to me saying, "Hey, I think your book you're looking for is over at Harley E has it." And I go over to Harley E, and then I go back to Dave Adams, and the book I was looking at there was gone already. I couldn't be more than 10 feet of walk, like 10 steps I walked around the corner. The other one, Lewis, that we do, which is our hidden gem, is that one in Minnesota.
Yeah.
that is a hidden gem for Golden Age. I mean, for timely, for everything, there's a guy with a booth that's no bigger than what you're seeing right here because they don't spend any money, and it's just nothing slabbed, long boxes of old.
Yeah, it's
that pharmacist guy has a bunch of them.
It's at what, in the Minnesota Fairgrounds, the Minneapolis
Fairgrounds.
Fairgrounds, and it's in a building, and you can actually find some pretty good finds there. You know, just got to get your hands dirty and dig around a little bit, and you can find.
It's a digging fest.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of back wall people. Sometimes I don't have even a wall. Remember like the middle rows where you're like, I'm going through. I'm like, did you see all this stuff? And we're like going crazy, and it's good for every era. But again, there is very little. It's just a straight up comic convention.
Yeah, I have a sort of different strategy for cons though. I bring a sizable budget, and then I look for one massive, awesome score. On Friday, and if I can find that and it's in my budget, I just get that. And the rest of the time, I'll buy some small stuff or stuff that I think I can CPR, or just some cool small stuff. But I just try to find on Friday something legit, dark, and rare. Weird Mysteries 5 is what I bought at Baltimore last year on Friday, and I didn't buy anything else the whole weekend. But I mean, that was a 5.0 off-white to white Weird Mysteries 5. That's a major book for me. So,
yeah, but yeah, you can pick up that Spawn 1 on Sunday. I mean, I wouldn't worry.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, look, if you find one of these books on a Friday, it's not going to be there on Friday night.
No.
There's National 16. There was a National Comics 16 with Gator had. It was a 4.0 white pager, reasonably priced. And I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, let me think about it for like 5 minutes. I walked away and I'm like, yeah, I need to go get that. So I go back and somebody else already bought it.
Yeah. I remember, if you remember, he had 3 Rick Bradford 6s.
Yeah, I ended up buying one of those off him.
And they're gone. And I told Lewis, I said, you got to get that 6.5. It looks better than the 7.0.
Yeah.
Reasonably priced. And I think it was like $1,300 or something even less than that. Well, we went around and we were like, okay, we'll think about it. I'll go back. Let's go get something to eat. If you don't know Lewis, he's got to get something to eat at a certain time of day, or he gets a little cranky. If we go back there and that shit's gone.
Yeah, I bought a raw one off him for a really good price. And I ended up getting a 4 or 5 white pages on it, which I love. I do love that book. I ended up selling it for a really good profit, but with the idea to replace it with like a fine range copy. Now, Brick 6 is not hard to find. There's tons of those out there.
Yeah.
But I've had a chance at a couple, even just like last week at like a 6.0, and I don't know, when it's not rare, I have a hard time pulling the trigger to go get one because I'm like, well, I can just get that later. And Brick 6 is that for me. There's a lot of them out there, and I keep putting it off.
Yeah, two things. I always had that saying, right? Availability drives down desirability, and then what I've, it's funny. Like, I think we were all guilty of it at a time. Like, if you go to a con or anywhere, and you say, "Oh, I'll think about it." But when you say you think about it, like, we all know in our heads when we say we think about it, we already have our mind made up if we're coming back or not. Like, we say about it, I don't know why, because we're really not even thinking about it. Like, we know if we want that book or we don't want it. So what I've learned is if I want it, I'm just gonna make my offer or buy it.
Exactly. It reminds me of that part in the second Da Vinci Code movie with Tom Hanks, where he's in the swimming pool at the beginning and the guy from the Vatican comes to talk to him and tells him what's up with the Illuminati and everything. And Tom Hanks is like thinking about whether he's going to go. And the guy's like, how long are we going to stand here and pretend you have not already decided to go?
Exactly.
That's exactly that's how I feel about it too.
Yeah. So I've kind of learned my lesson on that. And so I just, if there's
I did that with the Weird Mysteries 5 too. And then I couldn't find the booth. And when I finally found it again, it was like an hour later, and he luckily still did have it, and I was able to work out a deal. But I was so frustrated when I couldn't get back to it. And I was like, man, I just screwed up. I know I wanted that book. Why did I even waste my time? I should have just worked out a deal. And luckily it was still there, and I did get it. But you're 100% right on that.
Yeah, I remember Terry from Superworld. flat out said to me, "You're coming back for this book. I know you are.
I like.
Just hold it for me." He goes, "I'm going to hold it for you, but at 4:00, it's going right back behind me over there." I said, "Okay."
Can you make me large? I just want to show something.
And at 3:00, I went over and as I walked by, I wasn't going to buy it right there. He's like, "Just PayPal me the money now. We're good." And I did.
All right, let's just bask in the glory of just one collector.
Hoarding them all.
Yeah, I only need one of those.
Punch. What is this punch?
12.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
Four.
one's a little easier to find.
You know what punch I'm
Dope
beginning
Slaves?
the
Dope
punch
Slaves?
more.
Dope Slave. Yeah, no, it's a Harvey book, I think, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a one shot, I think.
It was, yeah.
Only
That's pricey. That one's, yeah.
only
I
two.
remember looking at there was a 4.0 and a 5.0, both on my comic shop for like 400 and 500. And I was going to buy them both, and I didn't. And now I don't have one at all.
They do have some timelies on there.
Yeah,
US
those USA comics have like sweet covers, like the USA's. Those are cool.
Yeah. That one's tough.
Yeah.
Real tough.
6.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know what that one is.
that's the second cover Batman.
29.
Oh, all right.
2 big jumbo.
Oh, nice.
About twos. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
What punch I like the most, and it drives people crazy to say this.
What is this? It's not tomorrow.
Yeah. That's like,
yeah. It's not tomorrow. And World War III are kind of like.
that one's got like 4 variant covers.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, Jesus. That's insane right there.
For Snipe
That's
8.
the one where they're casting Hitler down into hell.
Yeah, Super 8, I think it is. Super Snipe 8.
Fight.
Decapitation one?
I could probably make it bigger here.
That's that decapitation one with blood squirting out the neck.
Oh, the fight. Yeah.
6 of them. And we got oh yeah, that's tough to have 3.
I got one.
You got one of those. Yeah.
I got one.
Pretty tough book. All those things.
That's the.
Yeah, nice.
No, I'm sorry. Are you saying these are different people's collection?
No,
It's just the same person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that book's not rare, but that's still insane to see 8 of them lined up.
they used to be a dealer, and I think they both. It's not like they were going paycheck to paycheck.
No, I think they do well for themselves, but they've been buying for a long time. They don't sell. They just keep buying another copy of stuff when they run across it. And they've been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
One of the books you showed was the Punch, and
Mm-hmm.
I talked to people about the Punch 12, and I'm thinking it's good, but there are other punches I think that don't get enough credit. I'm going to throw out there 13, 19, and 20 have always been. I just don't see them. I see more Punch 12s, and Punch.
I don't
12,
really like that national that much because it's hard to figure out what's going on.
Well, the Punch 12, I don't know if one's been up for sale for a fair amount of time now. Like I don't.
Rick had a 3.5 and a 5.
There was, yeah, I think
3.
best Lou finds right there.
That's
That's well. There was a Torpedo Comics had a really low grade one. I think it was missing the back cover. I don't know if they sold it. That's the only one I've seen on the market. That's been around for a while.
Yeah.
Which one is this?
Rangers? Isn't that the Rangers comic?
This is the Rangers. It's this one.
Yeah. Yep.
But man, they're going all into that one.
Yep. They're going long on that one.
Definitely going crazy on that.
And this one too, the fight.
Yeah.
Vulture.
With the Vulture, yeah.
Speaking of Vulture, that's why I like the Punch 20 better.
Oh, that's a good
Punch is
fight.
good 'cause the Punch is a Chesler. Cheslers are pretty tough. They're scarce books. The Punch, the Dynamics, those are tough books to find.
That's a tough one to find.
Yeah, I saw one of those recently, maybe on eBay or something.
I've got some Cheslers behind me. That is one I collect. I've got.
Ooh. Only 9.
That's
Well,
the
he's
wheel.
He's got to get a in. I don't know what he's messing around with 9 for.
And 3 of these.
Yeah. Bernard Bailey cover, classic one.
And we're getting close to the end. Yeah, and I thought maybe they weren't into the superheroes, but yeah, they got that.
There you are.
Cap 2s, and oh man, this isn't pretty good. Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
We could tell what it is even if it's blurry. It's
Yeah.
funny. Oh, that's pretty crazy.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 6 copies of All Select One.
Although I think I've seen there was someone buying a lot of these, and I feel like if it is that same person, they've gone through them. They don't. I don't know if they necessarily keep everything.
I don't know. I've hit them up about a couple things, and they just tell me they're not ready to get rid of any.
Do that.
I can't tell which one that is. Is that number 1?
Right.
With the hands on it, the gray hands.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's number 1.
this one.
Yeah, that's just first. That's the issue number 1 is a tough one.
Oh, this one.
So that's issue number 1.
This one's nuts. And we were trying to remember the title of this last time.
Oh,
Yeah, there it is.
And now we won't remember the title of the other one.
They had a picture, I think, of Catman 28 where they had like 18 copies of Catman 28.
Oh yeah, yeah. You see that? Yeah.
That doesn't seem hard to do.
No,
But
you see
That seems hard to do.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
And that's not too bad.
Yeah, that's just you just need a checkbook for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they probably bought, most of those were probably bought more than 15 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we got these.
Black
Yeah,
Cats.
now that's impressive because there's so many, but there's an 8.5 in there.
This is pretty nice.
Oh
That
yeah.
one's real tough.
3 of those.
Is that 3? Is that what that
Yeah.
is?
Or
Yeah, it's super tough. There, Lewis, there's one of those on Comic Connect Exchange. It's a conserved 3.0, but the price is too high in my opinion. But you can check it out.
I'll have to give it a look over.
3 of those bad boys.
Yeah, that's the Weird Mysteries 5 that I bought.
You still have it, or did you sell
Oh
it?
yeah, you found that thing in Baltimore.
Well,
Oh,
the Weird
that-
Mysteries 5, I still have that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fight. Oh, God. Yeah, this one probably, I don't know. Is this one expensive?
Yeah. Dark.
Not cheap. It's like, that's a good book. It's
Lucky number 13.
second. It's like at the top of the second tier for PCH. I don't know. Like a VG is probably like 2,500.
It's funny when they only show 3. I'm like, oh, what happened?
Yeah.
Because then,
Oh my God.
that's just wrong.
I've had 2 ever of that Chamber 19.
Jeez.
What was that? 15 copies? No, that's what, 18 copies.
18. 18 copies. And then we got 5 of those.
Yeah.
Tomb of Terrors.
Lots of these men, timelies. Oh, there's your guy.
Yeah, look, there's less than 10 on this. There's like 10 or 11 on the census, and they have 2 of the census copies and 1 raw. So that book legit they've taken a lot out of that population.
That's a lot for this timely one.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah, there's always someone else out there. That's it.
Well,
When I try to go to cons, I don't know. I'm keeping my secrets here, but I always keep like a budget. Like I'm probably never gonna find it, but I've mentioned the book like 12 times. But it's like my R Flag 5 budget. If I can ever find anybody who has that, I'm gonna just probably offer up or sell a kid, and then just
Well, I might know somebody who has one for sale, but you might have to pay up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Get that thing done.
I'll see if it is, and if it is, I'll send them your way.
Which book?
R
Flag.
What is it?
R Flag 5?
Oh, yeah.
I have looked for. I mean, I kid you not, unless I just missed it. That's a book where I don't know, by the last 10 years.
No,
right?
there's only
5.
4 on the census, and I think there is a 4.0. There's 2 1/8s, and then there's a 0.5 cover list. That's the only ones on the census.
Yeah, I know there's the one gentleman. I don't know him personally out there on Instagram that collects, Golden Age and so forth. I think he himself had 2 1.8s.
Yeah, that's the guy. He just posted a picture of 2 1/8s.
Okay. Yeah. And so
Yeah, go look for that. Hit him up. See if maybe he'll sell one. You know what I mean?
Is that your like Moby Dick, or whatever?
yeah, that's the one where, like I could,
My
It's
adventures.
one of the rarest. Look, I think that the rarest Golden Age books of all time, the most scarce Golden Age books, are R Flag 5 is one of them. The Challenger Truth Bomb. I don't know what issue that is, but the Truth Bomb. It's the Challenger. I can't remember if it's number 3 or number 4 or something.
yes, yeah.
That's super rare. This magazine is Haunted number 3 PCH book. Super rare.
Dracula kind of run.
I mean, even the stuff like the Voodoo Annual, I've seen a few of those. I wouldn't put that as the top rare. The more MMC Annuals, pretty rare, but I've seen a couple of them. Yeah, I see the R Flag, the Challenger, and the magazine is Haunted 3. Those are like, I mean, somebody else could tell me some other ones, but those for me I think are the rarest
I used
Golden
to not tell people.
Your Marvel Mystery number 3, that I don't know what that is, but that I mean, it's probably not, that's up there. Like,
I don't know. You'll find one. But thing is with that is like, and I don't know about the ones you guys are talking about, but I mean, it's a timely. So there's people who have it. It's not like some weird book that, whoa, yeah, maybe no one collected that and they're all gone. Like there's definitely some locked in. So it's just rare to market, I would say, more than actual rarity.
yeah, I suppose people were just keeping them more so than it's.
But I do have one.
It's an ace book, and so
That's you never see that.
Yep.
Yeah, this is right up there with the R Flag 5, I think.
Let me put that on the big screen.
Yeah, it's Challenger. Let me see what number, if it says. I don't even know. I'm not going to mess with the photo, but it doesn't say on this photo what number it is, but it's Challenger. It's the Truth Bomb cover. It's called the Truth Bomb cover.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, this one is ultra rare. I've never seen one for sale. I think I know somebody who has a copy, but I've never actually seen one up close or seen one for sale anywhere. So this and the R Flag 5 and the magazine is Haunted 3, I think, are the 3 rarest. Now, there might be something that's super rare that nobody's looking at that's not sought after. I'm talking about sought after cool books that you can't find.
I got one for you that I used to not show because I was going to like drop, there's books where you're like, your comic collection that you own fears that book because they know if you ever see it, their time is numbered because you will sacrifice.
Yeah.
But I think I gave up on this thing. Here, want to make me large real quick?
Yep.
Triumph 7.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember if it's the first novel or not, but she's kicking Hitler, Canadian white. I've only ever seen maybe 1 or 2 on the internet, not for sale.
Those are Canadian. That's a Canadian run, is it not?
Canadian.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, she's like super early, female superhero, and Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
This is just like, sometimes
I've never seen that for sale.
you wish you could just have a chance to even entertain the thought of competing, but you don't get a chance.
There's another book. I disagree, but some people tell me Manhunt 12, because for a while people thought it didn't exist. There were none on the CGC census, although there was one graded by CBCS a while ago that people just weren't aware was out there. But since it's been discovered that it does exist, I think there are 3 copies floating around.
You
That
can
tells
bring
me
everyone
that
back to
it's legit rare, but it tells me that there are more out there. So yes, it's definitely a rare book, a very scarce book, but I don't think it's like our Flag 5 level of scarce. But Manhunt 12, for now, there's only like 3 known copies, but I suspect there's more. Because as soon as that one came out and blew everyone's mind that, oh my God, it actually does exist, immediately after that, 2 more followed onto the market. That doesn't happen with our Flag's been known about for a while and none ever come onto the market. So I think Manhunt 12 will fall short of those.
how many are on the census?
Of what? Manhunt?
Yeah, no, the other one.
Our Flag has 4 on the census, but I mean, I don't know. The only ones that have sold that I know about are those 4 that are on census. Now, somebody has a rare raw copy out there. C. Holmes in the chat is saying that John Burke still has the Rockford copy of that wasn't in the auction when he sold everything. So yeah, there's more copies that's out there, but there's more copies of everything out there. And how many more of there are there of our Flag 5 or that Challenger with the Truth Bomb? I mean, people legitimately seek those and want those, and they would go for a ton of money, and they still don't come up, and people still can't find them. That tells me they are rare. Because anything else, if you get enough money, like Mask 1 or Black Cat 50. Look, people forget, like 4 years ago, you could not find a Black Cat 50. You couldn't. There were hardly ever. You could. I mean, they were around, but it wasn't like every auction had one. And then one went for crazy money, and the market got flooded with all these Black Cat 50s. Mask 1, same thing. It wasn't like you could buy a Mask 1 before. They hardly ever found one. Yeah. Now they're pricey, and they're all over the place.
Yep.
Here's the highest Triumph 7.
3.0, huh?
And then a 2.0, and then a 0.5, and that's it.
Yeah, that's
all great.
I think on the R Flag, maybe I'm wrong. I thought there's like 4.0, then there's 2 1.8s,
yeah,
0.5 or something.
Yeah, I think the 0.5 is a coverless copy.
Is it really? Okay. All
yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's.
If you look up GPA or you look up past data or you know somebody who owns one, it's one of those 4.
Yeah.
Now, there's probably other copies out there, but there's not that many because people are actively looking for that book and still coming up empty. So I don't think there's many total in existence.
And it's an ace. So there was a couple years there where like Ace periodicals had, in my opinion, some really neat books, and they were in like Lightning Comics, our Flag Comics. They have 4 favorites, all those books, and there's several of those Ace runs, which are very, very difficult to find.
Super Mystery's an Ace run too.
Super Mystery, right? And then so you'll find like some of those books that for whatever the reason are just impossible to find. There's a 4 favorites book, which I've always enjoyed, where it basically has musical notes coming out, and the notes have skulls in them. And I think it's number 24, maybe.
I pulled it out the other day. Hang on.
So I don't know. There's something with those Ace run, but yeah, it's
aces are tough. Yeah, definitely.
What those? 5.
What's that?
35 copies.
Really? No, yes.
On the census.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, people who own those 35 just keep them. Nobody's putting those up for auction. It's rare that comes up.
Yeah,
I know. The rarest book I have probably is, I don't know, that Dynamic 8 is pretty tough. I have a Blue Ribbon 13, which only has like 6 or 7 on the census. And even those, since I've owned them, have seen others for sale, and they're legit scarce books. But to have a book that never, I mean, I've been collecting Golden Age for 5 years or so, and like that Challenger Truth Bomb, I've never seen one for sale. That Triumph,
well, just recently, I think, as John knows, like I showed it on here, it's on the wall there, which I think there's approximately 20 on the census. But again, I think it's a book that no one ever sells, and that's that Mystery Volume 6, number 3, the paper cutter. And so again, it's like almost Ace books that I don't.
Yeah, I don't know how many's out there. That all new 8 that I have, it was weird. It's a Harvey, okay, and there's only like 9 or something on the census. And I don't understand why it's a Harvey and there's just none around. And the highest graded copy is like a 7.0 or something.
Yeah,
And then a 4.0 just popped up, and I instantly bought it, of course. And yeah, I mean, that book's pretty scarce too, but I've seen a couple for sale. That was a weird one though, because that's like a mid-40s Harvey. I would think there would be more of those. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The all new, the Harvey 40s, like the Speed comics and the all new, those are tough books to find, man, for Harveys. And then the PCH Harvey stuff, it's all over the place. The other Harvey titles and genres are all over the place. And then the all new and the Speed are super tough books to find. So I don't understand. Like Speed 24, or no, it was a Speed 28 with the giant Nazi monster.
Oh, the Great Nazi Monster, or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
that was real tough to find, man. Real tough.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah, there's some Speed comics out there that I kind of like. I mean, they're not Schomburg, but they have kind of all kinds of stuff going on them.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty cool.
All right,
Yeah,
so which one? Little quiz here. Which one of these do you think rank the most to the least on the census?
We're going to school now.
Let me put you on the big screen. Hang on.
All right.
All right.
Say the numbers too, because I'm not familiar with these.
All right.
Yeah, I got it.
Marvel.
Just say them when you hold them up.
All right. Marvel Mystery 2,
Okay.
1939. Marvel Mystery 3, I believe 39 as well.
Mhm.
Number 4, first Submariner cover, the end of 39. Number 5, 40, first Human Torch cover by Schomburg.
Right.
And then first crossover.
That's
Number
number
9.
9.
I'm going to go with number 5.
5 you think has the rarest or the most common?
That's the rarest, with the most being Marvel Mystery 2.
I think 9 is the rarest, honestly.
Yeah,
And I think that first Human Torch cover by Schomburg, I think that's the most common of those. I don't know what number that was.
5.
Yeah, I think 5 is the most common. I don't know.
I'm gonna go with like maybe I'm crazy. I was thinking maybe number 2 there. The might be the rarest, the 1939.
All right, so this one's so common, they're just all over the place. All 53 copies of this.
Right, that's the most common.
53.
For a PCH, that would be common, but for
But I do see that one raw a lot too.
But I think that number has gone up in the past 3 years significantly, which without sales. Like people are just sending them in and then just keeping them, I guess. Getting ready for the trailer of The Rock to come announce that he's the Submariner. Then 52 copies of this.
yeah, I'll never see that one ever.
Which, I feel like if it's a huge, huge key and there's less number on there, I feel like that's more accurate, just because when there's something commands that much cash, there's more incentive for people to do it than like a book that doesn't really, like, who cares if you get it graded, because you're not going to get it much money out of it. Then we go to number 2.
That I thought it was the most, because I bet you that's got the highest print run of them.
46 copies.
Super common.
Yeah.
Like an X-Force 1 almost.
There's definitely a difference between rarity and availability. They don't always match up.
Exactly, yeah.
But not available.
And what Overstreet calls is scarce.
I thought that would be the rarest.
And this was
I
40.
see that come up.
40 of them.
Several of those come up though. I don't feel like that's that hard to come by.
Yeah, I mean, there's been times when there's been the same low grade ones.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know.
And then, 35 of these.
Okay.
Huh.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite.
Together, all those, it's still, less than 250. That's like 200. That's pretty crazy when you think about that.
Yeah.
The first half a year or almost a full year of Timely Comics on the census is less than probably if you include number one, it's probably, at least less than 400.
Nice.
Well,
Yeah,
there's probably
where's the one?
has more like New Mutants 98 than all of those. It's just to put it in perspective. Right? I mean, it's like, like
I always joke that the number of what was the book that everybody got graded? The ASM 300.
oh yeah, there's
I still joke with that. I still think that is just way up there. There are way too many of those graded.
Yeah, there's more all the time. I just sent one in to get graded like a couple months ago.
I mean, they'll break 25,000 after it took them from the first start of slabbing to last year to get to 20,000. They'll hit 25,000 by the end of this year.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks insanely valuable and in demand.
most graded for sure.
I mean, that's the biggest, aside from like I don't want to call them novelties, but like the TMNT one or like some rare price variant or something.
Get one.
The SM 300 of just the normal sort of books is the top book. That's the Hulk 181, the AF-15 of the Copper Age. It really is. Now, yeah, TMNT, that's sort of transcends that because that's a historical book that transcends the Copper Age. It's not really a Copper Age comic to me. ASM 300 is the top of the list for Copper Age comics. That's the AF-15 of Copper. So, and it's, it's a Spider-Man book. It's a McFarlane book, and it's a Venom first appearance. It has a lot going for it. So do I think the prices on it are crazy? Yes. But the demand is just insatiable for that book. I think it should be in high demand, but there's so many. I can't believe demand is outpacing supply of that book. Still, there's just so many of them. And there's tons of raw copies out there, too. I mean, there's cases sitting around the country in different places. I mean, but the demand is still even greater than the supply of that.
There's a guy.
Now, what about Marvel 1?
Yeah, Barrett's asking you, where's one?
So there's 35 was the lowest, and then 53 was the highest of those. So where do you think number one would fall?
I bet it's above all those.
Probably about, my guess is 50, well, maybe 60 copies.
I would say 60 or 70 even, yeah.
63.
60.
Yeah, nice.
Which is damn low.
It's getting, we're at our plus 2 hour mark, and I want to.
Yeah, I got to keep going.
Yeah, I got to work in the morning here. There he is, another one here. If you're going to go with the Spideys, these are the ones that you want to get, in my opinion. These are the coolest covers. This is the coolest cover of all of the Miles. And I don't like this. It's just Miles is just. Charlie did a great job, and Gwen, of course, Gwen. So anyway, thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being a friend. I did want to shout out Tech31. Thanks for being part of the chat and getting us over here. Bub's Comics. I didn't forget about you. You were doing some really good stuff. He had a good line here that says, "Hey, would you use a real robot to search the internet for more toy robots?" And there is, I think he'll do anything he can to get robots.
I wouldn't use no robot.
No robot for him.
Hey, after this outro, stick around for a minute. I want to talk to Lewis on the stream about a book.
Absolutely. Okay, here we go, guys. Thank you all again. Thank you all for being a friend.
Thanks for watching.
See you guys later.
Good week.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true.